All right, so as I said, there is one item in this toolbar that's not actually working, and it's the file upload. So if we try to upload a file, we can see that it almost works, but it doesn't. And that's because we haven't implemented yet. So if we go to storing attached files over here, in the documentation, we can see that if we want to support attachments, we have to listen to this event. If we don't want to support attachments, we have to listen to this other event and call the prevent default. So we are using Alpine over here. So let's just use that. I'm going to create a X data over here just so we can start the Alpine element, and let's make it configurable. I like the idea of that. So accept files, by default it will be false. So it won't accept by default. And over here, we're going to say if accept files. So if it doesn't accept files, we are going to use the if statement in a little bit. But for now, if it doesn't accept files, we're just going to say X on, and let me grab that event name, tricks accept, and prevent. So now, even though we see the icon, when we try to upload, nothing works because tricks rejected the files. So all you have to do now is hide the attach files button, and that should be the opposite. Yeah, so now if we go to the index page of our Sherps form, we can say accept files equals true, and that will show the button and also accept files basically. Yeah, but this is not actually implementing the upload. So in the documentation over here, there is an example of how you can use to accept files, and we are going to base our implementation in this over here. We just have to listen to this event, and then if there is an event attachment file on it, we call the upload function, which should do the actual upload over here, passing some callbacks or set progress, set attributes. And we are going to do pretty much this, but instead of building our Ajax request from scratch like this, we are going to use Axios because that's installed in our end. So let's do that and go to the tricks input over here. And then when we accept files, we are going to listen to the tricks attachment add event, and we are going to call the upload attachment method over here, which I'm going to create right now, upload attachment, and this will receive an event. So if we don't have a attachment object file over here, we can just return. Otherwise, we are going to make the upload. So to upload, we have to create a form object like they're doing over here. So we are going to do pretty much the same thing. So form equals new form data, and then form.append file. We are going to give it the attachment file itself. And now we can actually use Axios. So Axios post, and then I'm going to hardcode the URL. You could make it configurable on your end, but for now, attachments. And then we pass the form. And over here, we are going to pass some options to it because we also want to listen to on upload progress, which is an event that Axios gives us. So we are going to call it progress event, and we're going to receive this. Now we just have to call the attachments set progress, passing the progress. And the progress is an integer between 1 and 100, and we just have to pass it along. So we are going to call event attachments set progress. And the progress event gives us a progress, but it's a float between 0 and 1, so we just have to multiply that by 100. That should give us the progress bar. If we use the throttling over here, we can pass it an image, and we should see the progress updating. Oh, we got a 404. That's because we have nothing in our route. So I'm going to copy this route over here, and I'm going to create a new group route, passing this callback, and then I'm gonna move this to inside that. And now we can create a new route for our attachments. And I'm gonna receive the request over here. And for now, I'm just going to validate the file is required, and it should be a file. And that should do it for now. So let's try, let me disable throttling so it can finish. And now enable it again. And then we can try uploading just to see the progress bar. Nothing happened, so we got an error somewhere. Set progress. So I must have called the wrong thing, set upload progress. Yes, that's my fault. So it should be set upload progress. And then we can go back, disable throttling, and enable it again, and then try again. So you can see the progress bar, really cool. Okay, so the progress bar is done, but we are not doing anything with the attachment. So we have to finish the upload. And before we are able to do that, we need to handle the upload. So Laravel actually has file systems over here, and there's one for public, which we can use right now. If we are using S3, the implementation would be pretty much the same. So to use this, you have to run PHP artisan storage link, by the way, and that will create a symbolic link between your public storage folder with your actual storage folder locally. So keep that in mind. I don't have to do anything because I have done that already. Okay, so let's implement this. So we have to get our request file, and we pass the input name, which is file, and then we call store publicly, passing the folder, the path name, so attachments, and we can get it. We can give it the disk, which in our case is public, and this will give us the path, which we can then return over here. But we're not going to return the path. We have to return a URL. To get the URL, we are going to get the storage facade and the public disk, and then we are calling the URL method on that, passing the path. This will give us a URL, which we can return as a URL, but we also return the href over here. So this should be enough. Let's try it over here. I'm going to disable throttling and keep it disabled for now. So we should upload 2 files. It called the endpoint twice, and for each one of them return the URL of the file. So that's good. Now we just have to finish, and if we take a look over here, it's the set attributes, and we have to pass the attributes that we want to set to the attachment itself. So let's go to our front end over here, tricks input, and then we can chain over here. Then this will receive a response, but we are only interested in the data, which I'm gonna call attributes. And over here, all we have to do is call event attachment set attributes, passing these attributes that we received from the backend. And I believe that should be it actually. So setting the attribute and finished, no errors, that's good. If we take a look at the DOM, we can see that the href and URL are both set over here in the attachment. So that should be it. We should be able to create this with images, and it works. That's pretty cool. We should be able to edit as well. Oh, one thing that we didn't handle is the edit doesn't actually support files. So let's disable it there, or let's make it accept files. Okay, so now let's fix these styles over here. And for that, I'm gonna paste some styles into our CSS file over here. Yeah, so it's not much, it's a couple lines, but this should give us a better looking for our attachments, and it does. That's cool. So this should be the experience actually. If we upload files, we get this, and then we can hello world and then create, and yeah, this should be the look and feel of the attachments in our app. So that's cool. You can style this however you want. And one more thing, this actually supports drag and drop, so we should be able to drag and drop over here, and it works, but there's no feedback that it supports drag and drop. So let's add that. We are just going to make it so that it shows a border, and let's make it like a transition over here, and has dragging equals true. So if it has dragging equals true, the border should be green, 400, yeah, 400 is good. And then has equals true, has dragging equals true again. So border dashed. And now, if we get to our tricks editor, we should be able to just say data dragging equal true. And we get this nice border over here. We just have to create this dragging attribute whenever the user is dragging files. So there's a drag and drop API, and there are some events that we can listen to. We can listen to the drag over. So let's create a dragging property over here. And if we accept files, we are just going to say x on drag over, dragging equals true, and x on drag and on the window, dragging false and not env, drag leave, because we may have multiple tricks elements over here as well. So let's take a look at that. And if we hover over, oh, we didn't bind it. So now we just have to data x bind, data dragging equals not true, but dragging itself. And now, if we refresh, hover over, and leave didn't work. Oh, this should be false. Okay. So let's try again. Hover, leave, enter, leave, enter, leave. Now drop, and yeah. Oh. On drop, we also disabled the border. So let's try that, and yeah, that should be good. Okay, so we added the file uploads. This should be it, actually. But before we wrap up, there's one thing you should know. If you start a Tinker session over here, we can get the Sherp, and we can get all the attachable in the content, not in the Sherp model, but in the content attachable. And this should give us a collection with all the attachable in our content model. As you can see, we are actually storing the entire URL, the full URL, into these attachable. So you may want this, you may not want this. And if you don't want this, you have to use another approach, which we're going to see in the next video. But it's important for you to know that we are storing the full URL in the database. And just to show you what we're actually storing, we can get the rich text over here. Let's get the latest first as well. So this is the content in the rich text table, and you can get the body, and it's encrypted, but that's okay. We can pass it to the decrypt string over here, and we can get the HTML that's actually stored in the database. And as you can see, we haven't talked about this, but Trix will not store the HTML that we see when we render these attachments. Instead, it will minify the HTML for storage. So it converts all those HTML into this rich text attachments tag, and it passes it all the attributes that Trix needs to render this HTML, this attachment, again, either to the editor or to the final render, or to convert that to plain text if we want to do that. So HTML is pretty much XML, so we can treat these documents, these rich documents, as data stored in our database that we can look through if we want to. But yeah, the HTML is not actually what gets stored. We can store HTML, but that's something for another video. For now, it's important to know that this HTML gets minified before we store that in the database, and then when we are rendering that to the browser, it gets converted to actual HTML using Blade and all that. Yeah, but as you can see, the URL is stored in the database. In the next video, I'm going to show you how we can avoid storing these URLs and instead store a reference to a model. And we are going to use Spotsy's media library to handle this. Yeah, we're going to make it more advanced. So yeah, I hope you're excited for the next video, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.